dash is sick. I dash like Sonic Mad, not a pacifist, but pacifist. The tracks when I'm rapping, kids. We the last of us. The master race, take him with a master hand. It's cancerous. I hit him with the master sword, and sure I make a nice sword, but I wonder how 4 guys make a Triforce.
Hi guys, welcome to the Trinity Force podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I am your host for this evening. Thank you so much for watching live if you are. Don't forget, we do go live every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's 5 p.m. Pacific Time for all of you. So I'm joined by a great group of guys tonight. We're going to start with the normal people. In my bottom left-hand corner is DeClaude.
Howdy.
Hi, DeClaude.
Welcome back.
Is here.
Hi, I'm here.
Yes, DeClaude, welcome back.
Thank you.
You were gone
Good
on
to be
Monday.
back.
Celebrating
It's Memorial Day.
Day.
I was out with family, so I'm glad you guys still... The show must go on, so good job.
Yeah, while we were here slaving away, doing the podcast, you were out taking care of your family, drinking beer. Oh, you can't drink beer. Never mind.
I was remembering our fallen soldiers that day.
We said, we said thank you to all the fallen soldiers.
Good.
Yeah, we did a shout out. It was great.
Right.
Great.
And for our special guest this week, Dominic is away, but 3G Greg is sitting in.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back, Greg.
Oh, thanks. This is number 2 for me, I think.
Oh, congratulations. You're not a virgin anymore.
I think I can count to 2, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
know,
can count
right?
that high.
That's all. Yeah, it's good. All right.
So, Greg, welcome back to the podcast. We're very happy to have you on tonight.
Oh, it's good to be here.
Before we get on to the news section and talk to Greg a little bit, I do want to say that we are going to be talking about the Victorious Gaming Tournament, the tournaments that he normally runs, how it went with DeClaude playing and us casting, and then we're going to move into a giant mailbag episode with Greg leading off the first question. So,
Hooray.
let's move into the show notes real quick. Guys, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Those are both Facebook.com and Twitter.com/TForce Podcast. We do all our updates, mostly on Twitter. We're almost at 2,000 followers, so go ahead and go follow us out there. That'd be fantastic. You guys, and as always, there are T-shirts available at store.trinityforcepodcast.com. They'd be fantastic for you guys to go out there, check out the T-shirts. We are looking for more ideas for T-shirts, so if you'd like to throw yours out there, you know, give us a couple ideas. If you're an artist, we'd actually like to look at your work. We're interested in continuing to grow that store. And then next, I'm going to actually let DeClaude talk about the Nature Box sponsorship, if he doesn't mind.
Yeah, the Nature Box sponsorship. All right, what's the website here? But all right, anyway, you go to tinyurl.com/tforcenature and get all those healthy foods. You know, there's all sorts of snack things. So if you're Cheer Jaden and you can't not snack for half a second, then you should buy some. And I think he already did.
I did. I ordered
Today?
a box last night.
Last night.
They
Yeah,
shipped
Cheer,
it.
what is it?
What?
What is it? What are you buying?
I got the sriracha cashews.
No. What are
blueberry
you buying
almonds.
with the
Sriracha
sign up URL?
cashews.
If people go to that URL, what is Nature Box? What are they buying?
Oh, they're buying a bunch of healthy, delicious snacks that you basically sign up for, and you can either pick a bunch of shit that they'll send you, or they'll surprise you if you don't pick all the stuff. So I ordered a bunch of stuff because I can't help but eat all the time, so I might as well eat something better for me than an entire party-sized bag of chips.
I have a challenge for you,
do.
Sean.
No, I'm not doing it.
I want you to eat so much Nature
I'm
Box
not doing
that you
it.
actually get fat.
I'm not doing it.
It's
he
healthy
says.
food,
Not
so it's
doing
gonna be
it.
really hard. So do it.
Even if you eat enough healthy food, it's
You know what? I'll do it if you order
Too
it
much
all
of
for me.
anything. Sure. Give me your credit card. Work.
all right. So yeah, that's our sponsorship, guys. Go please check out the Nature Box. If you don't want to donate and you'd like to help out, you can always buy a T-shirt. That's a one-time donation. You can send a donation into the podcast using PayPal. Any denomination counts for there. We usually like to keep about $5 because there's a little fee that's taken out of each donation for PayPal. But if you do $5 or above, we'll shout your name out in the podcast and give you guys a big round of applause for helping. So no donation is too small, and all donations are impactful. So, moving on with the last bit of news, don't forget to go check out Battle Arena. And I'm going to use this as a segue to talk to Greg. Battle Arena goes live every Tuesday with Astradition and Honey Badger that are out there to help you get better at the game. And no matter what happens in that game, if you get completely trounced and destroyed, you can still learn something. Like, keep your attitude in check. Or don't get hooked by Thresh.
Yes. You got
Both
something to
very
say
good
about that,
things to
Sean?
know in League of Legends.
Right. So, you guys, to join those, you go into the in-game chat channel T-Force. Please join. We're almost at the cap, actually. We're at 170 people in NA. 200 is the cap for one of those rooms. We might have to do an overflow to T-Force 2 or something. If
The other
you guys
day I
can
saw us
join.
go up to 192.
Did we really?
Yeah. We almost
Holy
got to 200.
shit. Yeah,
So.
everybody's in there very helpful and willing to, give you guys advice if we're not there, because a lot of us are very, very busy. It is very hard for us to respond to everything. So with that said, talking about Battle Arena, this last week, it was the T-Force Battle Arena sponsored, or I should say it was like the Victorious Gaming Battle Arena sponsored by T-Force Podcast.
Yeah.
Is really the way to put it. And Greg and I casted it.
Yep, we did how many games? 5? Did we do 5 games?
I did
6
4.
games?
You
did 4. I did 5.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, because there was actually an extra bracket that they added in because there were actually a ton more people than we expected that came out for the event, thanks to you guys. And so we ended up having an extra game, which we weren't expecting. And man, it got late, didn't it?
Weren't there close to 400 people? I remember in the waiting room at one time there was 300 and something people.
Well, yeah. Well, we normally have, like, our tournament maxes out, I think, oh my gosh, I don't know the exact number on this. It's like 600 or 700 or something like that, somewhere around there. And we actually went over that, and we actually didn't cap it. So we had a lot of people. We'll just say that. I don't have the actual metrics on it because we do these tournaments every single day, right? So it ends up being, we don't get metrics for every single day, but you can go to our website and see how many people we actually have. There's actually a counter on there and how many we've had since we started doing them. It's pretty nuts.
It reminded me of being in like in an airport or something, getting those recorded messages every now and then. Make sure you make your way over to the waiting room or the the name room,
right?
Because we're going to start in 5 minutes.
And what's really awesome is we actually have a tournament tool that was developed by some of our IT guys, right? And it actually physically moves you, and so it reads your MMR, right? So it goes into the Riot API, reads your MMR, places you on a team based on your MMR rating so that everything's evened out, right? And then once you have that, then you have all the teams placed in 4 different tournaments and everybody plays it out. So it has the most even experience possible, right? So it moves everybody around the TeamSpeak. It uses the TeamSpeak API and the Riot API and all that stuff. And it makes it really easy and really awesome.
Yeah, and your staff was pretty, it's like, their jobs to do this day
I have
in,
a
day out.
really good story from that night. So first of all, I want to say, guys, go check out victoriousgaming.com. That's where Greg is from, and that's who's been helping us run that tournament, who we've been helped promote for a while now. Going forward, we're going to have a place on the on the website so you guys can go find that link even easier. But to get into this story, so my brother has not played 10 ranked games, and Erebus, he's co-founder or founder?
Co-founder.
Okay, co-founder.
Erebus and Elder Dreams are the 2 founders.
Yeah, I've had to have spoke with Elder Dreams.
He's our business guy. He's kind of behind the scenes.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I spoke with Erebus, and Erebus is funny because he told me I'm like one of the few guys that he'll answer the phone call at any time. I was talking to him in a bar on Skype. He answered his phone while he was at the bar to talk to me.
Awesome.
I was trying to make sure I got the podcast stuff or the tournament stuff taken care of. Anyway, that night I started talking to Erebus because my brother wanted to play. Well, my brother jumps in the tournament and they run their little automated thing, and he gets kicked out of the tournament. They're like, you can't play, you don't have any MMR, you can't do anything. And I'm like, hey, admins, this is the Trinity Force podcast tournament. Let Luke play. And everybody was like, yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I don't, we're going to get him in. There's no problem. So they bypass everything. And Luke gets in there and gets placed into a team. Well, we're all sitting in the lobby together getting the pregame stuff going. And suddenly Luke messages me and says, listen, they won't even start the game until an admin comes in here and tells them I can play. And like his team wouldn't let him play unless the admin came in there. So Jinxie actually get up. She's like, I'm going to go take care of this. And goes in there, knocks a couple heads together. Knocks a couple heads together, and he plays.
These are all bronze players, too, which is the best part.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of understand where they were coming from with that. I mean, it's in the rules and all that stuff. But, I mean, the only reason that we do that is to make sure that we don't have people making accounts like powering the level 30 and Smurfs and stuff like that. So it requires you to have 10 ranked games played so that we can actually judge your MMR on that. And so we don't have to look at individual people and say, okay, well, since you don't have 10 games played, we can look at your Season 3 and all that stuff. No, we just want to look at your Season 4 and see how you're doing. We can make one exception here or there. And honestly, like, how long does it take to do 10 ranked games, right? Just take care of it. But in that situation, for your brother,
it was one of those I've been telling my brother not to do ranked games because he's not ready. I know he would get placed in Wood 5 if he played right now, maybe like Bronze 2 or something.
It's good for you, though. You get placed low, and then you got to fight your way through.
Earn your way back.
I think he's about ready to start. Yeah, I think he's about ready to start doing ranked at this point. Like, he should stop doing normals and just jump in there and learn to play by himself. But for what it was, it was the Trinity Force podcast tournament, and I wish I would have known if some of you else out there had issues or something. You could have contacted me in some form or another, and we would have made sure you got in. So for the next one, we'll remember. We'll throw that.
Which
out
we're
there.
going to do another one for sure. That was fun.
But
nice.
tell us, DeClaude, from the player point of view, how does the Victorious Gaming tournaments run, and how did that one run that night?
Well, at first it was a little confusing until I joined the TeamSpeak server. As soon as I joined, I went to a room. They're like, all right, we're going to throw you in here. You playing for the tournament? Yes. Boom. I went down to a room, had somebody there who's gave me the scoop, made sure that I was all signed up and registered. I did the application form again. I did the T-Force one, then I had to do another one to be sure. I don't even know if I had to, but he had me do it just in case. And then after everything was good to go, they threw me into a name verification channel where I changed my TeamSpeak name to match my in-game name, and then popped me in the waiting room. And then everyone's muted in the waiting room except for the admins, and they're sitting there. You can poke them. It's a poke feature in TeamSpeak to ask questions, and it was just kind of fun answering some good questions. And then afterwards, we threw us into our teams. Now, this is I'm not familiar with TeamSpeak, so I don't know how to find myself on TeamSpeak.
Control F, just like in Chrome or anything like that.
There you go. Control F. So I didn't know where I was with the millions of channels in there. So I'm like, oh, crap, where am I? What am I placed in? So I found where I was placed, saw my team, and we started coordinating. So it was a good experience. We played. We were just outmatched. They played much better as a team than we did, but it was a fun game. I was one and done. Played and then was kicked out because it's elimination. There's too many people to have more than just one game. So played one game, lost the game, boom, knocked out. But I still had a good time. It's better than solo queue. Everyone was friendly. No one was blaming anybody else and yelling.
We have actually very little problems with individual people. Every once in a while, you get people in there that are trolling or doing things that they're not supposed to do. But we actually have a very good percentage of people. Percentage of good people to bad people, or however you want to say that, in our tournaments. And you make a good point there with the once and done thing. The reason we do that is because we actually do this tournament every single day. So it would be, one, a lot longer, and two, it would be just too ridiculous to do a double elimination.
It'd be a pain to manage, I think, right?
Right, but if you do make it to the semifinals, they're prized 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So first place, second place, third place, and fourth place all get prized. So 3,200 RP and triumphant rise for first place, then it goes down by 800 each time, right? So subtract 800 off each time, second, third, fourth. So we have to have a third and fourth place match. So if you make it to semifinals, you're guaranteed to play another game even if you lose. So, if you can make it that far up, win 3 games, you're good to go. And you're going to win something if you get to semis no matter what.
I wouldn't know. I didn't get there. Damn it.
Well, I mean,
it was still fun, though.
Come back tomorrow to Claude. Come on.
I could. The custom game setup was a little bit confusing because it's run by the players. And luckily, we had some people who were veterans in these tournaments who have done them before. So I was like, all right, one of the guys was like, I'll make the game. And then, boom, invited everybody and got it set based on the channel names in TeamSpeak. So there is a little bit, if everybody's new on both teams that are facing off, I don't know how that would go.
We usually have a recruiter or a mod or something like that takes care of that. We have a policy that if people are having issues, you have the top team on the bracket make the game, and then everybody invites everybody based on their names. You can find them in TeamSpeak. Control F, find the name of the person or the team you're looking for, then just invite everybody, because everybody's name is their league name, so you're all good.
Did you guys see my game, or?
Yeah, we shoutcasted it. No, we didn't actually shoutcast that. We shoutcasted Cereal Box and who's from your
Days Untold
rundown, and Days Untold, and that was the third game, I think, and it was it Azarish? No, Aaron, one of our shoutcasters, actually.
Cool.
Yep, that's it. Cereal Box, he made it. Actually, the one game was a 50-minute game that ended up in a backdoor loss because
it was so much fun.
So there was a game that kept going back and forth and they were backdooring and everything. And at the end of the game, the Udyr ends up backdoor winning, but he only ends up winning because the Trundle, the top laner, used his teleport to the base. It was like a base race, but the Udyr was further into the base race because of prior events. Right. And so the Trundle used his teleport rather than trying to stop the Udyr, causing them to lose the game. Like, he was the reason they lost the game right there, but he wasn't the whole reason, you know what I mean?
A Trundle can rip down buildings really fast, so maybe he was relying on that ability to beat Udyr, but Udyr can do it too. So
yeah, I was about to say,
all they had was a Nexus left.
Right, it was 5 people beating down the inner turret plus inhibitor, while he was just beating on the Nexus.
Right.
So you can't win that. Right.
Right. Wow. That a 50-minute game to cast, that must have been exhausting. You must have been casting till you were a horse, like our T-shirt says.
We were, well, Greg and I, it hit about 12:45, I think, and I said, Greg, I know we're looking at this. I said, I can't keep going. I have to go to bed. And then I was up to 1:30 anyway, because I got off and I hit my second wind.
And I was getting up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was like 1:30, and we're like, looks like Udir is pushing down.
You should have heard the cast. If you go back and listen, it was the most hilarious cast the other night.
The first couple were awesome. Like, they were great, but our last two, we were just like, I think if we do it again, Adam, what we'll do is we'll just like do the quarters, the semis, and the finals, and we'll have some of our other guys do the earlier stuff.
Yeah.
That way we don't have like, 5 games to cast, and we're just by the end we're just dead. So I think that's what we'll do next time.
We'll set it up better. We might have like Dom and Chira cast or something, or put them with some experienced casters so they can do color commentary.
I have some really good guys now. Ever since when I was first on here, I was kind of one of the only casters, and then we recruited a lot more people. So we are really full fledged now with streaming and shoutcasting and all that stuff. So we've got some really good guys we can pair you with. It'd be awesome.
There we go.
I'd be a horrible caster. I have no experience.
I'm not an analyst. I mean,
Man, that dude got 8. Damn.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's when you're in shoutcasting, guys. If you're not familiar with shoutcasting or don't watch the LCS, you've got 2 different, right? So you've got analyst and you've got you've got color caster and you've got play by play. So I do play by play. Where I just get hype all the time and don't actually really have to know anything about the game. I think there's like 3 lanes or something about it, right?
Right.
And then there's the color caster who actually knows everything about the game but doesn't necessarily have to get hype. So there's a place for everybody. If you like the game, if you know enough about it, you can definitely fit into one of those roles.
Now, here's the difference between an experienced caster and a good caster, I guess, for play-by-play. I noticed some casters will play-by-play the champion names, and others will play-by-play the player names. The player names are the ones who did the research. They're looking at the names. They can correlate it, and it sounds more professional that way.
It is the case in higher level play and teams and stuff like that, right? So if you're doing like anything of well-known teams where people actually know the names, but in our tournaments, we actually have a policy where it says we do champion names, because if you look at it and you're like some random person, like DeClaude, and who the heck is this guy? I don't know. And they're gonna then it's gonna just distract the audience to try and figure out who we're talking about, because nobody's ever seen these people play before. So
Right.
If we're doing higher level stuff, like if I'm casting our challenger team VG Esports, then I'm going to be talking about, Huggy goes in for the Thresh hook or something like that. But if I'm casting our daily tournaments, I'm saying Thresh.
Right, and then maybe you could, I guess it would make them feel a little bit better, the players, especially in the lower rankings. Say the champion names for something, and then use the player name to compliment. Wow,
Yeah, absolutely.
So did a great Thresh hook there. After you've done the play-by-play.
It also depends on how hard it is to
analysis.
say the name. So if it's Chira
Or how
here,
offensive
and
the
we're
name is, right?
Right, or that too. If it's Chira here and we're trying to say his whole name, I don't even know if I could say it right now. But if you try and say his name 5 times fast, or in the midst of doing play-by-play, that would not be super fun, especially if you haven't said it before. If it's somebody new in the tournament.
Hot butt mud just backdoored. Wow. Yeah, well, he did.
I bet he did.
Trust me, I've done my share of that during the cast. There's some interesting names that come into our tournaments, and I have to be a little bit of have a little bit of a censor there. So,
Do you have an explicit tag for your casts, or no?
I'm sorry.
Do you have an explicit tag, or do you got to watch what you say?
I personally do a little bit for me personally, because I like everybody on the air has a persona, right? So my persona,
Right.
I'm trying to be kind of like the professional business, So I'm not like I usually
telling
don't
us not
swear too
professional?
hard. I'm not pointing any fingers or anything.
What are you saying?
I'm not saying anything. I don't know what you're talking about, Adam.
You,
I don't know what you're talking about, Adam. Anyway, but yeah, no, everybody has their different personas. We have some guys that do. We have some guys that don't. We ask not to be super vulgar, but other than that,
Right.
like you say, shit every once in a while or something, we're not going to fire you.
Well, so
the
much for
sheer
this
volume
episode.
of
Have to add an explicit tag to it now.
The sheer
God.
volume of people you have playing every tournament every day, you might want to just keep it somewhat professional.
Yeah, we do, and so that's what we ask, and we're not gonna, obviously that comes out, especially if something crazy goes on. I mean, someone who's trying not to, I say things that I probably wouldn't normally say, but when Udir was backdooring, I think I may have said some things in that last tournament. I mean, that was nuts. I mean, we had Udir just base racing like crazy, and it was insane. You know, I get excited and stuff happens, but you know, we
Yeah.
try to keep it professional.
Just like this podcast, we try to keep everything to professional.
Oh,
That's-
you know.
That's why Chira eats
respectful.
oranges and soup and everything else. So
Tortellini. And
that's probably that's probably the next thing Chira needs to eat is soup, so we can hear the slurping noise. That'd just be awful. We would lose so many listeners.
I'll bring like a big bowl of noodles and chopsticks and just throw it in the air and let it like plop back
I just want to
down.
hear the as you're sucking it out of the spoon.
Who
Isn't that
wouldn't
a
want to listen
compliment?
to that?
In Asian cultures.
Yeah, it's the
slurping.
slurping noise. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
There you go.
so that is the Victorious Gaming Tournament. That's our recap, our 21-minute recap of how well it went. You guys, please go check it out at victoriousgaming.com. They do that every day, and you have a chance every single day to win RP. I definitely
said
need to sign
doo-doo.
up for it. Doo-doo. I always say doo-doo.
Explicit
It's,
tag.
yeah, it's
Good
awesome.
thing.
I mean, it's a great way for people who don't normally get RP and things like that to play. I mean, if you have the time, I mean, you can play it, and if you do well enough, you can make a lot of RP in just 1 week of playing. I mean, think about it. I mean, you've got 7 days of tournaments. If you just make it twice, that's 6,400 RP plus you
Right.
get a Triumphant Rider skin. If you just win twice, or even if you make it to fourth place, that's 1,600 if you get to fourth place 2 times. So it's pretty awesome, and we're prized directly by Riot. I don't know if I said that. It comes directly from Riot, so it's not like we're gonna be trying to
That's awesome.
skive you off or something like that. It's
It's a great
And,
incentive.
and you guys pay out. That's the thing. Like I've seen stuff on Reddit. It's been X number of months and we haven't been paid out. These guys pay out within a week because they just give it to Riot. Riot pays within the week.
Riot takes care of it.
Nice.
So, well, that is the kick Greg off the show portion of the podcast. Bye, buddy. No, actually, he's gonna stay around here. Rage quit. That's right.
That's right. I was rage quit.
No. All right.
You guys
So
didn't see I took my mic off.
that's the Victorious Gaming portion of this podcast. We're going to actually go ahead and move over to listener questions now because we know a lot of you guys want to get those answered, and we have a lot of them. Every time we put a call out, you guys answer in spades. Like we have pages and
That's
pages
awesome.
of them, and it's awesome.
Forgive
All
All right,
me.
so Volcano Techies. Oh wait, we went through all this.
Oh yeah, I made that joke on Monday. Sorry, you're a little late.
Oh, you did? Damn it, I'm late.
Okay, so I don't know if Greg's gonna be able to answer this question. What do you guys think?
I can answer any question. Come on, Adam.
Do it.
All right,
go.
Greg, have you listened to one of the latest podcasts at all?
I am behind by about 2 podcasts.
Okay, so
no.
you may have heard us talk about Warlord in the past.
Not off the top of my head. So maybe
so-
I'm a little bit more behind than I thought.
Okay,
Mastery.
so there is a mastery called Warlord that gives percentage additional attack damage. I'm actually going to pull up the numbers right now. It gives,
You know, same.
5%.
yep, it goes to what, 2, 3.5, 5%.
Yep.
Yep, and that's increases bonus attack damage. It's not your base attack damage or anything, right? That is deep down in the offense tree. And we came to the consensus that Warlord is not that great of a mastery to pick up because you only end up gaining like 30 or so AD at the end of the game if you're maxed out.
Okay.
If that.
Right. So we decided 3 points of that was not good to pick up. So the question from Brett is, you guys agreed Warlord wasn't worth the mastery points. What about Archmage? If you wouldn't use it, where would you reallocate those points as an AP mid laner? Now, I'm
Archmage's
actually going
the
to go
same
ahead.
thing.
Greg, I want you to read Archmage and read Warlord, and then tell me.
Well,
'Cause
I
those
already
difference.
know. I mean, I know what they are.
Okay,
5% each.
Archmage is what, 2% ability power for one, and does it go up to what does it go up to?
All the way up to 5.
Just
Oh,
like
it goes up to
Warlord.
5%. Okay. And then it's the same for Warlord, right? Same mastery, same idea.
Got it.
And
Sort
okay,
of.
so what?
There is a difference between Warlord and Archmage. That's why I asked you to read it. Warlord is bonus AD. Archmage is total AP.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So no, but that I was gonna go further with that. I was gonna say, with ability power, you're typically building a lot more ability power than you are building AD, and as well as especially if you're playing somebody who really scales off of heavy AD, you're going death cap. You're going, you're really trying to build heavy into AD, especially people like Vigar who just goes, intense into farming AP. Am I saying AD?
Player-
again? I meant
You
AP.
said 80. Players
AP.
like characters like LeBlanc, where
Right.
it's uncommon to see like a Deathfire Grasp, a Zonia's, and a Rabadon's
Exactly.
on.
Somebody who's building straight AP, not going any kind of defensive items, no Rylai's, nothing like that. Absolutely, I'd take Archmage. And I think even without that, I would say take Archmage just because you're increasing ability power. And what you said, Pone, that you're not. It's not bonus AD. It's base ability power.
It's total ability power.
Right. Well, I'm not base. Yeah. It's just
it includes
ability
base is
power.
what he did.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm
not trying to hold your hand. I really want to make sure you understood that.
I got you. No, I got you. I understand.
Because I would have actually, if I wouldn't have looked at those right now, I probably would have glanced over it and thought they were the same. And I'm glad I looked at that.
I
did
glanced
the same
over and
thing.
thought they were the same. So
Yeah, I did
thank
the
you
same
for clarifying
thing.
that.
Right. But yeah,
It's the same AP. Let's say you have a 600 AP max build Vigor, and then you have that ability. It's like getting an extra Fiendish Codex for ability power,
Right.
30 ability power. That's nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's not. And I mean,
Especially when they are basically, they absolutely need extra ability power because they're using abilities all the time. It's
LeBlanc.
not exactly. Punching out a little bit more power goes a very, very long way on mages who most of their job is to burst something down, and if you don't kill somebody within 30 health and they get away, you didn't do your job.
right.
I think that's a wash. You take that no matter what.
There's no reason not to take it, really.
There's no reason not to take that.
Well, especially just because there's also not as many things. Like spell weaving isn't that great for a lot of mages if they can't, stand toe to toe with other people as well. I mean, it's good on like certain people like Kale who are going to get off a lot of auto attacks. But for the most part, if you're just sitting back trying to poke, there isn't any reason not to take Archmage over.
And
something
Riot
else.
did a good job here of making spell weaving the first ability that you pick, where you have to get an auto attack off to increase your spell damage, rather than having it the other way around, where you get a spell off first, because everybody would pick up blade weaving if that was the first tier, and maybe not pick up spell weaving because of it.
Yep.
It would increase a lot. It would increase a lot of damage for a number of people if it was the other way around. At less of a risk, you could move that extra point someplace else in the tree. So, I agree with.
Plus, you can
Greg over
get
here.
more AP than AD as a mage than an
absolutely.
ADC. for
And
example, so-
relatively, that's true.
Right, and this is bonus AD too, so it's even less that you're calculating off of with Warlord. So
Well, again, considering how many spells you spam as an AP, you don't get to spam that many as an AD. Like there's only a few people that have anything that, any auto attack modifiers off of AD. I think Jinx with her rockets, she's one. But you have to be in that stance, and you are punished a little bit by losing mana every time you use it. Just like a mage is punished by using their abilities because they have to use mana to use those abilities. So that's why
Jinx
it
doesn't
scales.
usually have too much of a problem with mana unless she's casting her zap all the time or something like that. But yeah, I see where you're going with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, but you're still being. I'm not saying
Right.
it's not being punished. There's a consequence for using the ability, and that's mana is the consequence for using it. So,
Right.
but yeah, Brett, I think that hopefully that answers your question. So, let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Damien Durst. That's it. Right. I've played around 40 games as Quinn in the. We're not talking about Quinn at all. We have made a decision that there is no more Quinn talk on this podcast. We've received a lot of you guys' emails about how much you guys love Quinn and the
Or
consensus.
that you play Quinn this way or that way.
Yeah, and we love it. We want you guys to don't.
I don't mind
keep sending
Quinn.
those. Well, no. Here's the thing, and
we talked a lot about her.
We
so.
talked about Quinn for 2
Okay.
episodes in a row, and we decided that Quinn, the only reason she's not good is because her alt doesn't feel good to use.
Okay.
And as many times as you can argue it may for you, it may for not. For the majority of people, the alt does not feel good to use. So that's why we're
I
not
can
going to
see that.
speak about her anymore. So
I
I'm
can see that.
I'm sorry,
Fight the
Damien
power, go
Durst.
Quinn.
Your question was answered a couple podcasts ago, and I hope but keep listening.
But however, she will be getting a woad skin soon. She's going to look badass. So we're going to see a Quinn
perhaps more
resurgence.
people will pick her back up.
It's on the PBE.
And then people will figure out how to play her, and then she'll be good again.
Yep.
That's just how it is.
If you want to hear what we think about her, go back to episode like 162. So.
Yeah, we talked about it in detail.
So, Daddio writes in, it seems like every game I'm in, around the 15 to 20 minute mark, someone will call out all mid, and we just sit in the mid lane and wait until the enemy team approaches our tower. Meanwhile, our outer turrets are being pushed against us, and there's usually at least one enemy in those outer lanes. What should I be doing in this type of situation?
Not that.
Yeah, so that is 100% a bronze and silver thing that happens. And I know because I spent most of my League of Legends career in bronze and silver. I recently, well, not recently, a couple months ago, finally moved out of that type of thing. And now I've been, going up. But at any rate, I spent about 2.5 years in bronze and silver. And I know the biggest thing for me was getting into the mindset of saying, okay, once it hits 20 minutes, I don't want to sit in the mid lane and just push the tower and bang my face against that the tower armor in the mid lane. That get out of that mindset, guys. If you want to win games, you need to play the macro game. Yes, it's important to be able to micro. Yes, it's important to do things like that. But the biggest and most important thing if you want to win games is the macro. And if you play StarCraft, you know what I'm talking about, macro versus micro here. Mm-hmm. Micro being how you physically click and move, and macro being decision making throughout the game, right? So the most important thing is creating pressure everywhere. And that's why teleport right now is so good, because you've got that reduced cooldown. You teleport to a tower, you can create pressure, or you can teleport into the actual team. So the most important thing, create pressure on the outer lanes. Get those outer lanes pushing, so it forces those people in the mid lane or whatever out to other places, and then you can personally take objectives. If there's a Shyvana in the top lane, and she's forcing those minions away from her tower, and dragon's up, you take that dragon. Tower, mid lane, whatever. Take your players, your top lane, your bot lane, whatever, have them push out the minions, then go mid, then make a push while the other opponents are out on the outer lanes.
Ward their jungle and take their buffs. There's a bunch of stuff you can do.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just one thing to push the outer lanes, but absolutely.
Yeah, if someone's made the call to go all mid, and in this scenario, I picture this where you're defending your mid tower and it becomes an Aram while one person is on the outside. You have to decide. You have to, one, pay attention. Right now it's 5v4. Does the enemy have teleport? Is that enemy pushing fast enough that we have to stop him? Is that enemy pushing slowly enough where we can engage? Because if you can go all in 5v4 in that mid lane and you are all standing there, do it. Blow up somebody before that teleport makes it in there. If you can't do that, you have to send at least one person off and to deal with that side lane pusher. And then you have to stay, like they said, you have to start dispersing your power. Try to push them back a little bit. Now go into the jungle, ward up a little bit. Make them think you're going to keep moving. Is dragon spawning soon? Start making moves to get to dragon and taking that. Because in solo queue, people are going to respond to what you do unless they're all grouped together and have that goal of pushing down that mid lane. Sometimes it is unavoidable where the group is going to continue to pushing down mid lane and you have to stand there and fight them. But for the most part, you can, like Greg said, you can start creating pressure in other lanes before that point happens.
But timing's also crucial, because if they have that one down there pushing the bottom lane, for example, the scenario you painted here. Let's say everyone's kind of sitting around mid waiting for them to push to the tower, but your outers are pushing in. They got one, let's say, bot. And they have teleport bot. And then let's say you decide to go split off and deal with him, and then they go and do a Baron real quick.
Right.
You
have to keep that in mind.
You got to make sure you have good vision, just so you know what's going on and can respond accordingly. And that's one thing I want to say is Ziggs is pretty huge, because champions like him, you can just throw your ult to one lane and boom, now it's pushing in your favor.
You can equalize it if somebody's shoving.
Right.
It gives you pressure relief that wouldn't be available otherwise to some champions.
Know your champions and your abilities to help with that situation. But when in doubt, stay with your team.
Right, and the other thing that you have to also take into account, I mean, if you guys watch Trick2G, and I got to cast with him the other day, which was I totally fanboyed, but at any rate, that aside, Trick2G, his main strategy, stay in top lane, and stay in top lane, and just push like crazy, right? So he plays top lane Udyr, and all he does is just push his tower down. What that does is it forces the opponent's team. He wins his lane. He stays top lane. What that does is it forces the opposing team to send at least two up there, because he can 1v1 anybody, right? He plays Udyr like crazy. Udyr can 1v1 almost anybody, and then that forces two people to be up there. What does having two people up top do? Forces a 4v3 pressure in the mid lane. Right, it relieves pressure, and it forces a 4v3 in the mid lane or the bot lane or whatever, or at the dragon. So two of the purple team in the top lane, one blue team in the top lane. And if he, even if he dies, if his team takes a tower, takes a dragon, takes a Baron, which they probably wouldn't if he's top lane, but at any rate, takes something out of it, it's a win.
And I will agree with that, but we also sort of talked about this in the past, that is something that will definitely work way better in higher elo matches when the players on your team know how to take advantage of you drawing two people to your lane. But for lower level solo queue, where if you're pushing out top lane, maybe you're not pushing fast enough and your team decides to engage 4v5, dies, you give up a dragon and a turret, and you're still in top lane, you have to be like aware of the way that your team plays and the fact that your team might not recognize what you're doing. So you kind of need to hold their hand and let them know as well if you're going to go about split pushing or doing anything like that. You
That's a good
can't
point.
just expect them to know that you're the greatest top laner ever. You're going
Yeah.
to sit up there the whole game.
We
Make
talked
sure
about
you
this
announce it. Tell them to stay away, because a lot of times everyone will accumulate and they'll come and follow you. You're like, no, this doesn't work with this strategy, because then they'll start taking objectives
we
you were
talked
talking
about
about.
it last episode, and the consensus everyone was there was don't split push. Do it for a little bit. If you're going to do it, announce to the team. But for the most part, recognize when your power spikes are and be with the team, because like we said last episode, you could be that giant tank in the front. Every piece of this game is a learning experience, and you're going to have to try it once or twice and fail. I've said that 100 times. And so you might have to go and listen to Greg here and try to split push, try to do the trick 2G thing. And it might not work in, Goldie, though. Maybe it doesn't work until you get to Platinum, you found out. Or maybe you're not good enough at it because you don't understand when you should actually be split pushing, or you're not buying enough wards.
You don't know the champion well enough to take advantage of the fact that you just out-traded a person and you can zone them out for the next 10 minutes.
It really requires, the right champion, and it requires you to know the champion, and it requires you to, know the strategy well. So do it in, 20 normal games first before you take it into ranked. But yeah, it can work. It can work well if you pick the right champion.
It can work. I just want people.
It's a strategy,
I just
it's
don't want
out
to go
there.
against. I just don't want to go against what we said last episode, where we're telling people no, don't do it, and now we're telling people to do it. I want people to realize that for the most part, please do not try to split push unless you know what you're doing. If you're going to do it, take it in the normals first, like Greg said, and learn how to do it.
And watch how Trick does it, because he does it a very specific way.
And he
you don't want
posts
to just
a million videos too, so
yes,
it's easy to
he
go
doesn't
Hard to
just
find.
blindly go top lane and say screw my team. He does it with a purpose, and he thinks about it first and has a reason to be everywhere he is. So do it right if you're going to do it.
It isn't. The difference is when he does it, it's not that I'm doing this because it's for my ego sort of mentality. He's doing it with a purpose for his team so they can do things elsewhere. If your team doesn't recognize that, or if you're doing it just because, oh, you're that badass Riven who's 8-1 in top lane, and I'm just gonna stay up here for the rest of the game farming because that's what I do as Riven. When you could just join your team and win a team fight, or take other objectives on the map and shove down and take an inhibitor or a Baron and win the game. Who cares if you're 8-1 if you're not doing anything to progress the game towards victory?
It's a good point.
Right, absolutely.
So
Hopefully we answered that for you.
I think so. Then we'll go ahead and go move on to the next question. Actually, I'll see how you guys feel. I don't think we can answer this question because we took too long to get to it, because it may have been the meta shift at the time, but maybe. Anyway, Charles R. Norris, that's it is. Charles R. Norris writes in, at the time of writing this, Kayle, Warwick, Amumu, Soraka, and Fiddlesticks maintain top 10 win rates. So Kayle, Warwick, Amumu, Soraka, Fiddlesticks. These are some of the oldest champs in the game. Why are these champions seeing such success? And more generally, what makes a champion more likely to see high win rates?
I'm going to say for the Amumu part, Amumu's always been amazing in solo queue just because he is a monster at dealing with people who aren't organized, don't know how to counter jungle against him. And even if he is behind and he gets a good ult off in a team fight, it can make the difference between winning and losing the game as long as the teams are semi-even. Kayle has always kind of been a problem, and there were tentative changes up on the PBE that just got reverted today, I believe.
Yeah, a day or yesterday.
I think it was yesterday or today. But when you have somebody who has an incredible amount of armor, MR shred, can hit really fast, and can basically negate all damage for a small portion of time that she can cast on herself or anybody else on her team, that's pretty good.
We have to look at everyone's kit here. Everybody that he named besides Fiddlesticks is safe.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Right.
safe. They're annoying, and
they scale well.
And they scale well.
And a lot of them got buffs with current itemization and things like Feral Flare on Warwick. It was just a perfect item for him because
He was a training wheels champ for the longest time
Right.
until Feral Flare came out, and now he's amazing. Yeah, that's just it has to do with the items. He mentioned in there about how they're the oldest champs in the game. That has absolutely zero to do with it. All it is the itemization. You can see how one item change or one item addition can change the entire meta. We went from like Vi heavy, Elise, all of them, to where the old junglers came back. Xin, Warwick, Nocturne, all of them came back in. And now that they nerfed Pharaoh Flare, they're still prevalent, but now we've seen more of a resurgence of other things. So you can see how one item can change the entire meta of the game.
You know, we've always said that as well. Corki, up until his change and his Q, was the only champion that was dependent on one item being good. We saw at the end of Season 3 Worlds, where Corki was... Yep, Trinity Force was so good that he was played all the time. Almost the same thing with Ezreal, but Ezreal did have resurgence with Blue Ezreal for a while there as well.
Yeah, he did.
God, that build was the devil.
Yeah, Mundo, for example. Mundo right now is also one of the only champions that is good depending on the masteries.
Masteries
it's not items,
and
it's masteries.
Some of their spell,
Mundo.
but then they get rid of it. So
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't. Yeah, you don't even
That
need
was
it though,
him.
because you're just running. They even ran old teleport and ghost on him, right? This is before the teleport changes. It was because of masteries, and it's the same thing. A lot of these champions in this game get good, better or worse depending on the macro changes they make. As going back to that, if masteries are changed suddenly, remember when Perseverance was fantastic, and also, I can't remember the one later down in the defensive tree now that you gained your health back.
Oh Jesus.
which one?
The you gain percentage of missing health back, I think it's what
Yeah,
it was.
Perseverance. The regenerating percent of your missing
That
health
was
every
the
5 seconds.
OP Mundo one. Yep.
Yeah, Perseverance and Recovery is what I was
But
thinking
that
of
and
both.
Second Wind, which is the one below
Yep.
it, increases your health regen, self-healing, lifesteal, and spell vamp by 10% when below 25% health. So that screams Mundo.
Right, and then as well, Perseverance made the tanky bottom lane better, and so did items. Like all these people, items and masteries have such a wide impact on this game, and we've seen over every season different champions have gained popularity based on how the masteries have been changed or tweaked. So you have to keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to like the winningest champions, if Dom was here right now, he'd pull it up and tell me the number
All
one
the
winning
stats.
champions. But like Fiora, I'm pretty sure she's in the top 5 still, and I don't know why she's in the top 5, but I just feel like it's because the people who play her are just so good
They
at
know
her.
how to play her. It's not even that the champion's overall that great or anything. It's just the people that play that champion know what they're doing when they play them, and there's
It's like the
probably
Swain mains.
yeah. There's also like a lower pool of players playing that. So if the players who actually decide to play Fiora are all great at her, and they're the only ones that play her, of course her win rate's going to be ridiculous.
Right.
Whereas everybody's, sees somebody like where they're going to pick whoever's OP flavor of the month in whatever lane, pick that up. And when the everyman starts playing that champion, the win rate's probably going to start going down a bit just because their mechanics might not be up to par for what the champion can actually do.
Do I hear Lady Twitch or one of the rats in the background just kind of going nuts in their cage?
I have no idea. Maybe
Oh, did you hear it too?
Yeah, I heard it too.
they've been fighting all day. So I don't
Well, of course. I mean, why wouldn't they?
yeah. Lady
I'll-
Twitch has friends.
Lady
for
Twitch, yeah.
Anybody who's interested.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next question then. Red Medusa writes in, what buff do you think Barrier needs to make it worth taking again? Or perhaps another nerf to heal? I've seen recommendation that the speed burst from heal should be moved to cleanse. That were done and Barrier soaked more damage than heal does. Do you think that would make all 3 spells equally valuable again?
Well, I think Barrier is still viable because if you get ignited, Barrier does more than heal does, for example. Or if you have a heal debuff on you, Barrier does more than heal does as far as that health you're talking about, the damage soak or damage return. Sure, the movement speed's great on heal. That's the main reason you take it now. So, but
Well,
I still see
for more
situations where
people-
Barrier's better. You can open with Barrier on an assassin, for example, to get in there and get your damage done before you get blown up. Because then you'll take some hits and it'll hit it down where you don't have time to heal after taking the damage.
And
So-
if you're at full health and you have to barrier to eat like a Ziggs bomb
Right.
or anything like that,
To
you
negate
can
something.
use it like
That's-
preemptively when you have full health.
that's fine and all, but it's still not better than temporary health is never going to be as good as
Good
Effective
as
health.
effective health.
Absolutely. That's what it comes down to 100% is the effective health. You throw a barrier on somebody, they have health for what, 3 seconds, 2 seconds? You
And if
throw a
nothing
heal on
hits them, it
somebody.
goes away.
Right, you have heal on somebody, you get that health for or
right.
until you go back.
Yeah, I don't
But
disagree that the barrier isn't a good ability to pick up, but effective health coupled
Trumps.
with move speed trumps
And
temporary more health.
I like the suggestion. I think we've even talked about that where they should move the speed boost to cleanse just because that would open cleanse up way more.
I like that a lot too. I really like that.
I
like
don't
that idea, too,
understand
because
why
no one
adding a
thinks it.
speed boost to heal even makes sense as it is anyway. It like when
Makes it a
they
no shit button.
I
When-
wouldn't
yeah,
mind,
exactly.
I wouldn't mind if they added a speed boost to heal, but it didn't affect the person using the heal. Like you healed,
it only affected the person.
It only affected like so that way you would actually see more supports take it, but then there'd be then you would have to gamble. Do we need that exhaust or not?
But then think about it. You can use heal kind of offensively. You're sitting there in lane poking. You got a little bit of damage done to you, damage done to your support, and then you figure, okay, let's go in for the kill. We need this speed boost to get the surprise on him because Annie doesn't have flash to Tibbers, so we're gonna heal, run in, and Tibbers and hit everybody with it.
Definitely done
And then
that
it gives
before.
us a little bit of health, for when we do commit and go in. But cleanse, you use it like that, and you just wasted the best part of cleanse, which is the cleanse. So
And half the time when you cleanse, you're usually flashing afterwards too because you're in a
Yeah.
bad spot or they're collapsing
shit.
on you instantly.
Well, but having
so-
that move
Out of
speed
dodge.
definitely helps you to get out of the situation a little bit more quickly. Like, so if you
Yeah.
get hit with that ash arrow, now you've gained 30% move speed after cleansing the stun. And
Right.
you're
if they
able
were to add
move.
it.
Then
Right.
it becomes a 100% oh shit button. Cleanse with the move
Yep.
speed would be awesome for that. And
I
there'd be no
think
reason
they
not
need
to.
to balance all three of those around each other to make them more viable. And barrier, I would like to see barrier maybe give you temporary. It probably might be taking it a little too far, but maybe give you temporary armor and magic resist after the barrier has gone away by just a little bit, not a whole ton. There might be a way to make that worthwhile, but
Or
removing the
just
speed.
increase the value on barrier, or maybe the time. Remember,
Cooldown.
ARAMs,
Or
when
yeah,
barrier was
reduce
only
the
available
cooldown.
there. It lasted longer. It was you barrier in it was a few seconds. It was another second or two than it
Yeah.
is now.
There's a
And
lot
I
of things you could do to that to make it viable again,
On it-
and it's just finding the balance.
Give
I
you more
wouldn't even be
chance
opposed
soak
to
that
the
one.
reduction of the barrier just because you could use it to like tactically bait out more things, and since it goes away and it's not effective health, I don't see why there'd be even an issue with that.
Yeah,
Not
I
saying like
agree.
make it a 30-second cooldown or anything like that, but
Make it like a
you can
minute,
use it maybe
and a half.
twice in the amount of time you'd be able to use a heal or something like that.
Barrier lock it, face of the mountain, go in.
There you go.
All that preemptive damage soak.
Yep.
And then the opponent just looks at you and just like, I'm not going to attack you yet. And then Vigard just uses all their abilities on you, and you're like, well,
Yeah,
I
to wait half a second. Go. Go.
and
Now.
uh,
Yep.
Yeah, you know what's funny about barrier? This is sort of on topic. Is that when barrier was first introduced to Summoner's Rift, I thought that was going to be the end all be all of AD carries in the bottom lane. Like that was
it was for a while.
Well, everybody took it, but I was like, this is going to completely break the game. I kept yelling, this is going to break the game. There's no reason, there's no reason not to take it. AD carries aren't going to die anymore. And I was a little bit right. Like in lane, it was harder to kill the AD carry at this point, and that
It gave you those few extra seconds of man mode when you got dove, to just sit there and get off your auto attacks. Vayne it was great on just because as long as she can get that third hit in, you're taking massive damage. So
yeah, now the move speed from heal.
and she'll
Like
survive.
Vayne doesn't already
ridiculous.
need that, doesn't already have a ton of move
And
speed.
now
Yeah.
heal exactly. So.
Yeah, well, it's just like in every situation, heal is just better than barrier, no matter what you think about. I mean, sometimes you can consider mid lane being a place to take barrier because of the high burst, like against the Ziggs or something like that. But even so, it's like, well, you take heal because you're trying to move fast enough to get out of his Mega Inferno Bomb.
And
it's like,
you've just come into the end game team fight and given your
Yeah.
team a 30% movement speed increase.
Right,
there's
exactly.
just so much
And there's
utility
there's
around it.
always a better option to take heal. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Like you said with mid lane, I sometimes mull over the choices. Let's say I picked a Ziggs and somebody picks a Zed into me. I'm like, oh shit. Now instead of barrier or heal, I'll take exhaust just because it's Zed, know.
Sure.
But let's say they pick another assassin like a Kali where she busts her nut, then she can bust her nut again in half a second instead of Zed where he busts his nut and then it's a cooldown. Exhaust doesn't do you too much. So I think, okay, heal or barrier. If she has ignite, she's going to ignite me, do her crap. I hit heal. Maybe I can move a little bit faster.
But you're not going to get out of her
her
shadow
can
dash.
get out of dance range. So
Shadow
maybe
dance,
I'll
yeah.
want to use barrier at that point. So and I see the arguments, and it is still an option. But I do like the suggestion of the move speed on cleanse to make that one, because right now no one takes cleanse. If they do, it's just because they're expecting the worst, and you're not expecting to do well. But barrier over heal, I don't know how to make it better than heal right now.
Yeah, dude, you just got to nerf heal a little bit. You got to take that movement speed off, and then they're
Pretty much.
I think they probably might be even.
Well, I don't know about nerfing heal. Maybe just boost barrier a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
Make
But
it soak a little
cleanse
bit
is
more.
still just not viable.
Even in the
Ever.
running.
Yeah, so it's like trying to make those three viable for any to carry is the issue here, and it's like situation. Like the ideal situation I think is to make the summoner spells situational, where it's like, well, I'm against a Vayne, or I'm against a Caitlyn, or I'm against this or that. Like, well, I'm against a Caitlyn, so maybe I'll take barrier because of her ultimate. You know what I mean? Because right, and then well, now I'm against a Vayne, so I'm gonna take cleanse so I don't get condemned. I don't know, but that's the ideal situation. I think is to make it situational.
I think we also need to keep in consideration another reason that barrier was so popular was because it was at the same time a lot of supports were running ignite, and since heal didn't remove ignite, and they've changed it again so it doesn't anymore. But since heal didn't remove ignite, barrier was the best choice if you were getting all in early.
Right.
Yeah. 'Cause you're
Now that
soaking
we're
all the
not,
damage up.
yeah, exactly. Now that we're not seeing as many supports running ignite, that's
Because
another reason.
exhaust being 50% damage reduction.
Exactly. There's not as there's no incentive to run barrier in that lane
Right.
period.
So yeah, if you make cleanse a little bit better, let's say the movement speed thing, put it on Zed. Someone exhausts you with Zed, you cleanse it right off, and then you keep trucking after your.
Well, if we saw
you know,
cleanse get better, we might see more Kog'Maws and Ashes come back into play because they're able to get out of that. They have that extra second to get out of the
Well,
CC.
and that was a common thing people used to do on both Ashe and Kog'Maw. They would run Ghost and Flash a lot of the times just to make up for not having built-in escapes in their kit. And the cleanse would sort of make up for not taking a Ghost anymore. So you'd kind of get that bonus addition of the CC removal and the tiny Ghost for X amount of time. So I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. And it would increase, the effectiveness of certain AD carries in the bot lane as well.
All right, I think we've beat that one into the ground.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's cleanse this conversation and move on to the next question.
Well done. I love
Thanks,
it.
DeClaude.
Nice.
Thank you. The fifth player writes, this will be our last question for the night. Why has Shen fallen off in solo queuing and in competitive play? Seems like he can still do a lot of things he always did, but people aren't picking him anymore.
Okay. He can do a lot of the things he's always done.
Well, first you have to say Shen has been disabled for weeks and weeks and weeks in the LCS.
Yep. And that's a big thing. Also, with the predominance of teleport in the top lane, and everybody using it, that sort of, in a way, kind of helps negate the standby or whatever what was it?
Stand aside.
yeah,
That's Stand United.
Stand United. There it
There you
is.
go.
I almost said stand by me, Brom. Can't get him out of my head.
And behind me.
Right.
Stand
Does
behind me,
anyone
Stand
know what
United.
the Shen alt bug
Stay
is
aside.
right now? Does he
Yeah,
not move?
so when it gets canceled by doing something specific, so it won't even work sometimes. I don't know exactly. And some people were abusing that too. If they were ulting in and things weren't going great, they didn't want to die as well, so they'd use the bug and cancel the ult. That and the ult just wouldn't go off sometimes. I don't know too much more about it,
But
but
pretty much his alt's bugged to the point where you're either manipulating it to be more advantageous for
or
you,
it's screwing you over.
or it's screwing you over.
And
Do you think if it gets fixed, we'll see a resurgence?
maybe,
Is that
but
the main thing?
here's the other part of that too.
I don't think we will.
A lot of the top laners right now that are being played all the time, at least in competitive play, will stomp Shen. No problem. And they outscale him.
Well, you have to consider too, a lot of the champions that are being played in competitive play are champions that can clear the jungle on their own. Like Shyvana, if you watch LCS last week, and especially the NA LCS more specifically, the jungler and the top laner followed each other around for about 8 minutes around in the jungle, and you would even stop and let your top laner take race by themselves. And you have to pick champions that can do that, because you're not going to have in the competitive scene, you're never going to have that one-on-one matchup anymore. Somebody's always going to take the the 2v1 or the 4v1 or whatever it may be, because it's more advantageous to the team to get those early towers down to open up the map. So you have to find champions that scale well into the mid game with no items, and Shen isn't somebody who does that very well.
Now, in the OGN, we did see the Shen Panth combo come out a lot for the Stand United and the Grand Skyfall combination. He falls in, and then Shen Stand United is on him in between it.
But was
and
that
they both pretty much
before
appear there.
Was that
was
the
before the
4v1s?
ban? Yeah,
Yeah, that was before the bug.
That was before the bug, yeah.
Was it
I
before
know
the
that-
4v1s, though, is what I'm asking. Were people doing 4v1s at that time? Because I don't think they were.
I don't think was the Korean scene big on the 4v1s?
Yeah, they
Are they now?
picked up on it a little. They always pick up on stuff on a little later, but then they master it faster.
Right.
They refine it.
Because they didn't pick up Jinx for weeks, and she was available, and they finally did and showed how powerful she was after getting some practice on her. So
And now she kind of fell off
And-
because no movement.
Well, and
yeah, no movement, and then then they've been
mobility.
playing Twitch forever.
Evolution.
over
Yeah.
Korea.
if we want to keep talking about Shen 2, the other big strength that he had was his ability to split push and still be relevant to ult in to help his team. And with people like Shyvana, Renekton, Jax, and a lot of other champions who scale so well in the late game and who are typically taking teleport, it kind of negates Shen's ability to split push when you have somebody that's probably going to be split pushing as well that can take Shen in a 1v1. And if Shen ults down to help his team when the 4v4 starts fighting each other, they can just teleport down as well.
Nice head.
It's
I
so
wonder.
overcarved.
I wonder if you could think with Braum out now. If Braum gets into a game, he's banned a lot just because he's awesome. But if you can do a comp around a hyper carry like Vayne, get Braum down there with Vayne, and then a Shen top lane, and then just everybody protect the Vayne
Protect the
and
Vayne.
let her murder everybody.
Definitely can happen. That's gonna be one of those things where you have to get the right pick and bans, because Braum is actually really weak in lane. Mm-hmm. And if you pick him early, he's going to get counterpicked by someone like Karma or Morgana, specifically Morgana. So yeah,
I don't think he's that weak in lane.
He's weak against poke champions and Morgana because he doesn't.
Everyone's
have,
weak against Morgana.
right?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying though. Like,
But-
and poke
but no,
champions kick his ass down there too. I'm not saying he's a bad champion.
You have to
He's
run on what I've done is on Leona. I'm running a health per 5 and flat health rune page, so it's negating the nerfs that she took for her lane stability, her early phase. And I run the same shit on Braum, and I don't know. I can be quite the bully with Braum, and it's hard to.
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying you have to take it into
hard to
consideration
fail.
that
Is
how you can't be as aggressive with her as you can Thresh or Leona based on their kits, because it's harder to hit Braum's abilities. Braum's is an anti-engaged champion, so picking him into somebody like Leona or Thresh is better than
A poke comp?
than
you're saying?
picking him into a poke comp. Well, picking him into a poke lane.
Right.
I don't know. I kind of like him for that, just because if you are good at playing him and you get your E early enough, you can negate, let's say, the mantra poke from Karma and then go in right afterwards. As long as you know when to react off of cooldowns. We got into Braum here off of Shen, but I think I don't know. I disagree with you saying that he's weak in lane. I think he's still very powerful.
Well, he's like any other champion. He has weak matchups.
That's
No,
funny.
I'm
because
not- I'm not even saying-
Declawed is I'd say you're actually in the minority at this point, because if you read Reddit all the time, people always
A
scream
lot of
about
people.
how-
Well, there was a
But
big post the other day. It's
maybe
like,
they're
now
trying to
that
get
we
him
know
off the ban list,
Brahm's
it's just a
finally
strategy.
out,
maybe.
there's ways to deal with him.
There are. So stop banning him, please, so I can play him. I love that.
I need to go get a glass because this beer is so overcarbed that if you here, I'll show you guys.
Is that homebrew?
Yeah, I have to keep it like
you
this
done
because
fucked up.
look at it; it's just keeps coming out.
I will
Wow.
say, Adam gave me one of his homebrew once, and I opened it, and it literally shot out as I opened it.
Wrecker
all over the
overcarbed the
place.
beer. Unfortunately, he carved it was a 3-gallon batch. He carved it for 5 gallons.
Oh, okay, that
That'll
I'll do it.
Anyway, I'm gonna end this podcast so I can get a glass because I'm sick of holding this like this and having it drip into this glass. So that is the Trinity Force podcast of the week. Greg, go ahead and give us some shout outs.
Woohoo! All right, thanks guys. This is 3Greg from Victorious Gaming. You can follow me on Twitter, BG3Greg. I think it's below me, right? You guys put it down there. As well as I'm sorry.
3Gs.
VG3Greg with 3Gs, right?
He's 3G Greg.
REGG, 3G Greg. So 3 Greg, 3 GREGG.
VG3 Greg, good game.
Right. Come to our Twitch. We do it every single night. It starts around 10 o'clock-ish whenever the brackets happen. Twitch.tv/Victorious Gaming Twitch. You can see me there on Friday nights and most Saturday nights shoutcasting as well
our next
as...
one, we should make it on a Saturday and not a Thursday.
Yes, we should. I agree. That would be a lot easier for us casting.
I can stay up. I'll stay up to 2 a.m. on a Saturday night. No problem.
Yeah, exactly. TeamSpeak. Come to our TeamSpeak. Come check us out. Come introduce yourself. I'm not always there, but I'm there a lot. ts.victoriousgaming.com. That's TeamSpeak server. Just download TeamSpeak 3 and you can come check us out. What else am I missing? Facebook.com/VG tournaments.
Whatever. What's the
at Game Victorious is the Twitter.
This will all be in the description, guys.
Yeah,
So just go ahead and check out the
and Trinity Force podcast is awesome. So keep listening.
Yeah, thank you.
These guys
Sorry
are
you have
great.
to watch me eat this. All right, guys. Guys, don't forget to go check out the Nature Box and all that. That was episode 165 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you again for Greg for joining us. We will always appreciate you coming on.
I love it.
A little bit of
Good to have you.
foreshadowing as well. Greg might be joining us more frequently in the future, so we look forward to having him on more often. So thanks again, guys, for listening to the podcast. We'll see you all next week.